If you wake up in the morning and you start having negative thoughts, man, this ain't my day. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I'm tripping. I just don't feel myself. Just stop for a second and start going over in your mind everything you have to be grateful for. Everything you already have, not everything you want. Because what you have is substantial. The fact that you can walk, that's a blessing. The fact that you woke up, that's another blessing. See, think, reason, that's another blessing. The fact that you can go somewhere and get yourself something to eat, that's another blessing. The ability to dream is a blessing. The fact that you have an opportunity to get it right is another blessing. The fact that you have any measure of health, that's another blessing. I could give you 50 things you ought to be grateful for right now. I don't even know you. Start coating your mind with gratitude. It'll change everything for you.
As we travel from season to season, it is seeing the wicked go forward while the righteous are held back. Sometimes I see people succeeding who didn't work nearly as long, have not been faithful at all. They seemingly have moments of victory. Their victories are flaunted in my face while all hell has broken loose in my life. Seemingly they are having victory and triumph. The very sight of their prosperity becomes your agony. That it is not your test that baffles you, but their success agonizingly displayed before you makes you despair of life. How they prosper in their own way, they shall soon be cut off.
Decide to do it now. Decide whatever you want to do, that you are now going to become actively involved, exploring the possibilities for you. That you're going to look at it and do just a little bit of it. When I decided to become a speaker, I didn't just quit my job and just ran out and say, I'm a motivational speaker. No. I decided to start looking at other people that were involved in the speaking profession. Whatever you want to do, get your feet wet. Gain some experience. Find out whether or not this thing you want to do will fit for you. If you want to have a restaurant, have you ever operated a restaurant before? They well, really, you don't even know if you want one. You got to find out what fits for you. Because you might decide that after you go up in there and examine it and experience it and get some experience, you say, this is really not what I want. This does not fit for me. So decide that you're going to do that.
If you're giving space to guilt, you will not have the confidence you need to move forward. That will cause you to fail again. It's a negative cycle. The only way you can break it is to rise up and say, that's it. I am done living in the past, focused on my mistakes, reliving my failures, beating myself up. This is a new day. I'm emptying out all that infection. I'm going to receive God's mercy. You have to do this by faith, because every voice will tell you, you're a hypocrite. God's not going to forgive you. Look what you've done. Doesn't have anything to do with what you have or haven't done. It has to do with what Jesus has already done. But Joel, I made a lot of mistakes. I don't deserve to be blessed. None of us deserve it. This is what mercy is all about. That's why it's called the good news. Your sins have already been forgiven. You don't have to pay God back for your mistakes. The price has already been paid. When you fall down, don't stay down. Get back up again. When the accuser whispers, look at you. You blew it again. You'll never get it right. Just answer back, yes, I know I'm not perfect, but I am forgiven. I may not be where I should be, but I'm making progress. I'm moving forward. I'm not where I used to be. Don't let guilt poison your future. Empty it out. Sometimes it's hard to empty out the negative. When a person does us wrong, human nature wants to hold on to the hurt, become bitter, carry around a grudge. We think, I'm not going to forgive them. They don't deserve it. But you're not forgiving for their sake. You're forgiving for your sake. As long as you hold on to the hurt, the anger, the bitterness, it's not affecting them. It's infecting you. Unforgiveness is like a poisonous toxin. It may feel good to hold on to it, but it will contaminate your life. And a lot of times the reason we don't forgive is because what the other person does was wrong. They were clearly at fault. But when you forgive, you're not excusing their behavior. You're not lessening the offense. You're simply getting the poison out of you. You have to forgive so you can be free. Quit looking at it like you're doing them a favor. You're doing yourself a favor. See, it takes a lot of emotional energy to hold a grudge, to live with unforgiveness. You wake up, it's always on your mind, thinking about how they did you wrong. You may not realize you are spending emotional energy that you need for your dreams, for your goals, for your children. You won't become all you were created to be if you are wasting emotional energy on things that don't matter. That unforgiveness is an impurity. Yes, what they did was wrong, but you have to let it pass. You have to release it. When you do, you'll not only feel a new freedom, not only have more energy, but God will be your vindicator. He will make your wrongs right. You don't have to pay people back. You're not the judge. God is. Leave it up to Him, and He'll vindicate you better than you could vindicate yourself. This is what a lady did named Mary Johnson. She was a single mother of one son. When he was 20 years old, he was out late one night at a party. This young man came up that he had never met. His name was Osteen. He was 16 years old and had been drinking. There was an altercation. In the heat of the moment, Osteen pulled out a gun and shot Mary's only son. He was instantly killed. Mary was so filled with anger and hatred, she told the judge that 16-year-old boy was an animal and he needed to be caged. When he was only charged with second-degree murder, Mary was even more angry. She became a recluse, stayed in her house, wouldn't look at her son's picture. 10 years passed. She knew it was time to forgive. She could hear the still small voice telling her to let it go. She contacted the prison to see if she could visit Osteen. They said yes, but Osteen said no. He wouldn't do it. She kept asking and asking. Finally, he agreed. She showed up at the prison. When she saw Osteen, he came around and gave her a big hug and held on to her. They wept and wept. Mary said, as I was embracing Osteen, I could feel hatred and bitterness rising up out of me and leaving my body. It was so strong that she fell over. Osteen had to hold her up. That day, Mary not only emptied out the unforgiveness, but she found a new son. 7 years later, Osteen was released on parole, didn't have any place to live. Mary said, you can live next door to me. She calls him her spiritual son. Mary started an organization called From Death to Life to help mothers who have lost children to violence. Now she and Osteen go out and speak at conferences and schools about unforgiveness and overcoming loss. Mary said what really helped her decide to forgive was a poem she heard about two mothers in heaven that had just become friends. One mother asked the other, who is your son? She said, my son is Jesus. I'm Mary. Mary asked, who is your son? She said, my son is Judas. When Mary Johnson heard how in this poem, Mary, the mother of Christ, had befriended the mother of Judas, she knew she had to reach out to that other family. Now she helps other mothers do the same thing. Out of your pain can come your purpose. I saw a lady on television recently. Several years earlier, her son had been killed in an accident. They asked her how she was doing, and she made the statement, you never really get over it, but you can get past it. She was saying, yes, it's difficult. Yes, there was a season of mourning, but you don't have to stay in mourning. You don't have to live bitter. You don't have to get stuck in grief, in depression. You can move forward. When you go through a loss, things happen you don't understand. It's easy to think, I just need to get over this. But sometimes that's too strong. It can put more pressure on us. We think, why do I feel this way? I must be doing something wrong. Take the pressure off. You don't have to get over it. Just get past it. Just keep moving forward, taking it one day at a time. God said He will never give you something that you cannot handle. You may not understand why it happened, but the Scripture says God will give us a peace that passes understanding. You're not going to figure everything out. If you'll let go of the questions of life, you will have a peace that goes beyond what you can understand. Toward the end of Jesus' life, He'd been betrayed by a disciple, mocked by the soldiers, falsely accused. Now He was hanging on the cross, wearing a crown of thorns, about to breathe His last breath. He did something significant. He could have just died and went on to heaven. That was it. But He said, Father, before I go, I need to take care of one last thing. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. They didn't ask for forgiveness. They didn't deserve it. Jesus was saying, in effect, I'm not going to leave this earth with anything negative in me. He was showing us by example how we should release the toxins. I read where Leonardo da Vinci was painting a portrait of Christ. He let some small children in the room to watch him paint. One of them accidentally knocked over the easel. He became very upset and ushered them out of the room. He sat back down to finish, but he said he could not paint the face of Christ with anger in his heart. That's what happens when we hold on to the negative. It stifles our creativity. We don't do our best work. It's because there's infection that's slowing us down. Are you allowing negative things in your container? To reach the fullness of your destiny, you need to operate at your maximum potential. If you have a little bitterness, a little guilt, a little jealousy, a little worry, if you add up all the space the little is taking, you're only operating at a fraction of what you could. I'm asking you to empty all that out. God is ready to fill your life with good things. He wants to keep you young and strong. Do your part and make room for Him. Every morning, empty out the guilt, empty out the worry, empty out the discouragement. And when the impurities come, when the infection comes, don't let it stay. Let it pass on through. Keep your heart pure. If you do this, I believe and declare you're going to step up to a new level